Hello everyone, welcome to FEARTALAES Ghost Stories channel, and today's story is continuing from Chapter 3, Chapter 4, Ancient Master Miao Jiang. The villagers surrounding the scene were left dumbfounded, mouths agape and eyes wide. If they hadn't witnessed it with their own eyes, no one would have believed that such a bizarre event could happen in broad daylight. Sinful abomination! Qing Yunzi suddenly stood up and angrily shouted at the female corpse. I showed mercy, intending to deliver salvation for you and your child, yet you refuse to repent. Like ants trying to shake a tree, you even dare resist the divine might of the immortals. Today, I shall annihilate your very soul. With that, he swiftly formed hand seals and drew several strokes onto a talisman. With a flick of his wrist, the talisman flew into the flames, but instead of burning, it stuck directly onto the female corpse's forehead. Qing Yunzi clasped his hands into seals and began chanting incantations. The white yin energy stopped pouring out. The flames immediately began to burn her body. Her clothes caught fire first, followed by her flesh, which melted and sizzled, releasing crackling sounds. Her skin burned rapidly, turning from pale white to pitch black. Veins writhed and twisted, sucked into the raging flames like worms squirming in a fire pit. An utterly horrifying sight. The corpse's entire body trembled violently, struggling desperately. Her facial expression twisted in agony. Her eyelids were burned away, exposing bulging eyeballs that glared outward. More terrifying and ferocious than any female ghost in a horror film. Mother of mercy! A timid villager collapsed onto the ground in terror, nearly wetting himself. The crowd instinctively retreated, bumping into one another, trembling uncontrollably. Just as the female corpse was about to be completely cremated, something unexpected happened. Dark clouds suddenly rolled in from the distance, blocking out the sun. The sky darkened abruptly, mountain winds howled violently, and it was clear a heavy rainstorm was about to arrive. Qing Yunzi cursed inwardly and looked up. In late summer, sudden downpours were not unusual, so this wasn't caused by the corpse. It didn't possess that level of demonic power. However, without sunlight to suppress it, fire alone would not be enough to restrain a killing corpse. Sure enough, the female corpse let out a shrill, agonized scream and suddenly straightened her body, attempting to leap out of the fire pit. At that very moment, the 5-element flags Qing Yunzi had planted around the grave began to shake violently. Beams of golden light shot out, intertwining rapidly to form a net that covered the entire grave. The corpse struck the golden net and fell back, but quickly sprang up again, lunging forward repeatedly. Her mouth opened wide as she roared like a wild beast, each scream piercing the nerves of everyone present. No one dared retreat now. The villagers were frozen in shock, staring blankly at the Feng Kuang scene before them. Qing Yunzi remained unmoving. His hands continuously formed seals as he chanted, reinforcing the power of the 5-element formation. He could see that although the corpse was ferocious, it was already at the end of its strength. It would soon be reduced to ashes by the fire. But one thing troubled him. Why was the infant corpse inside her womb still unmoving? Gra! A grotesque howl echoed out. The female corpse stopped charging the golden net and instead grabbed it with both hands, tearing at it with immense force. The killing corpse's strength was terrifying. In moments, it ripped open a hole and forced its head through. Evil creature, how dare you! Qing Yunzi roared. He drew his peachwood demon-slaying sword, a weapon specifically crafted to subdue evil and destroy corpses. This sword had been refined from century-old peachwood, struck by lightning, imbued with immense spiritual power. Qing Yunzi sliced his middle finger, smeared the blood onto the sword, and quickly drew a talismanic inscription. He leapt forward and stabbed the sword straight into the corpse's left eye. The eyeball burst apart. Green liquid spilled out, splashing onto grass and plants, corroding them like acid, turning them black and withered. The peachwood sword pierced through the back of the corpse's skull. A screeching sound, like the violent strumming of a pipa, rang out. Thick black fluid and bubbling sludge poured from the wound. The corpse convulsed violently, shrieking in agony, gripping the sword with both hands, preventing Qing Yunzi from pulling it free. At that moment, a sudden change occurred. With a ripping sound, The swollen belly of the female corpse split open. A small, pale hand emerged from within. Then another. Tiny fingers tore at flesh, ripping it apart. A pair of blood-red eyes and long fangs slowly appeared. Instantly, a child's head burst out from the mother's body and crawled swiftly through the hole in the golden net, escaping outside. The infant killing corpse had finally appeared. During the fire, protected by its mother's body, it had suffered no harm. Though wary of Qing Yunzi, it glared at him viciously before scrambling away at terrifying speed, using both hands and feet. Unable to pull out the peachwood sword and unwilling to release it, Qing Yunzi acted decisively. He withdrew his right hand, pulled a bronze bean from his sleeve, and hurled it with all his strength. The bean struck the infant corpse squarely. Bang! Black mist exploded outward. The infant corpse let out a shrill scream, but kept crawling, disappearing into the tall grass. Qing Yunzi formed a seal with one hand and struck the female corpse with a palm, sending her flying back. He yanked free the peachwood sword and thrust it into her throat, chanting continuously. The corpse let out one final wail. 10 seconds later, her body stiffened. The sword remained lodged in her throat as she fell backward into the flames. Qing Yunzi immediately chased after the fleeing infant corpse. Following the lingering killing aura on the grass, he ran downhill. But by then, rain began pouring heavily, washing away all traces. "Heaven does not aid me!" Qing Yunzi stomped his foot in frustration and stopped. The sky had darkened completely. Though injured, the killing corpse could still absorb surrounding yin energy and escape successfully. Continuing the chase was meaningless. He returned to the gravesite, seeing that the female corpse had burned into ashes. At least that threat was eliminated. He ordered the villagers to bury the remains to prevent corpse poison from spreading and forming a plague. "Taoist, what about that ghost child?" Yidagong asked fearfully. Qing Yunzi sighed deeply. "This was my oversight. From the beginning, the female corpse knew she would die, so she transferred most of her killing aura to the infant corpse. That is why my peachwood sword could not destroy it and allowed it to escape." The crowd gasped in terror. "Will it come back to harm people?" Yidagong asked, his voice trembling. "It took one of my sword strikes and is severely injured. It will likely hide to recuperate and cultivate. For the next 3.5 years, it will not return." 3.5 years? Just to heal? Someone asked. Qing Yunzi rolled his eyes. "It is not human. You cannot measure it by human standards. A killing corpse has no lifespan. 3.5 years. To it is nothing more than the blink of an eye. Then what happens after 3.5 years? If it appears again at that time, contact me." Qing Yunzi let out a long sigh. There was no better solution. He then stepped forward toward the villagers. Although the rain was pouring down like a waterfall, none of them dared to go down the mountain. Every single person stood there silently, waiting for Qing Yunzi's instructions. Qing Yunzi walked through the crowd. Finally, he stopped in front of a man in his early 30s. His gaze was sharp like lightning as he examined the man from head to toe. Suddenly, he grabbed the man's right arm and forced his palm open. On the man's hand, his thumb and middle finger were pressed against his abdomen, and there was a faint red mark there. Chapter 3 ends here. See you in Chapter 4. Good night. If you enjoyed this story, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.